topic is relatively simple. It's the 100,000-foot level. You have
very much, David. Thank you. Come on down, guys. Grab a seat. This is going to be, if all of you got a little ticket that you might have been invited to complete, if you don't, raise your hand. I want to thank you as well. As David mentioned, we've been a preferred partner of NAFCU going on our 5th year. We're just delighted with the association and our relationship in the credit union space. By background, I'm a banker, even though I own a company that distributes insurance and runs insurance agencies for financial institutions nationally. I've never written a policy. So I understand your business a lot more than I understand the insurance space. And what we're going to talk about is this notion of engaging your member in a new generation of communication and creating nurturing confidence and communication with them. What I want to do before we get going is ask who's in charge of a credit union that makes auto loans? Anybody got a credit union that makes auto loans? Okay, and you're out of where? What credit union?
SRP in South.
Oh, okay, well there you go. They're about to be a new client of ours. Well, welcome. And when you're a member, you make an auto loan, what's one of the things you require before you give them a check and tell them that their loan's been approved and they can go buy their car? What do you need? Auto insurance, right? That's exactly right. Now, where did your member go to get their auto insurance? Somewhere else. Any carriers come to mind that they may go? Allstate. Where else? State Farm. Well, I'm watching last night on TV while I'm doing a little work last night in the room, and let me show you what State Farm announced this week. Go ahead, Matt, play it.
Are you sure we should take this billboard down?
People find out State Farm does car loans as well as they do insurance. Our bank is through.
Good point. Grab an edge.
Look, there's 2 guys on the State Farm Borrow Better banking sign.
No, for real, there's 2 dudes on the State Farm Borrow Better banking sign.
Breaking news from the State Farm Borrow Better banking sign.
Seeing 2 men that have climbed the Borrow Better banking sign.
Gentlemen, please get down from the State Farm Borrow Better banking sign. Phil, get the hose.
Okay, he's getting the hose.
All right, let's go.
Talk to a State Farm agent about car loans that can save you hundreds. That's borrowing better.
Now, can you imagine you've created a customer, a borrower of a car loan. You've told them, before I can complete this transaction, I'm going to send you out of my store. And go across the street, talk to that State Farm fellow. And that State Farm guy has now got the tools to say, by the way, what's the monthly payment on your car loan? And don't be fooled by the fact that they're for profit. Because what they're doing is they're looking at the value they're making on the auto insurance policy and saying, you know what, I may be able to use a little bit of that commission income to thin down my auto insurance rate, maybe a basis point or 5, so that I can compete with this credit union toe-to-toe. Every time you watch that State Farm ad, any State Farm ad, it says at the bottom, auto, home, life, bank. Here they come. So what we're going to be talking about is engaging your members and realizing you cannot let them leave your store. Our company, why we know what we know, we run insurance agencies for financial institutions nationally. They range from under $100 million in assets to over $23 billion in assets. We're agnostic about charter. We do business with banks and with credit unions. They have collectively millions of households that we provide insurance offerings to. Most importantly, and this is going to be a little counterintuitive to you, there are no agents anywhere across the footprint we serve in 49 states. One of our more recent clients is Denali Federal Credit Union up in Anchorage, Alaska. We're not in Hawaii yet. All the agents are working with your members over the phone. Nobody's physically in market, and you know why? Because your member doesn't want to sit down and talk to an agent face-to-face anymore. They think of insurance as a commodity where price, convenience, and selection are the drivers. You have to think about positioning your business to engage, to flirt with your member as they think about products that you've got in your store that they'd like to consider buying. Just by way of overview, we're going to get a quick and down and dirty discussion about some of the things that are happening on the cutting edge in your space. I'm going to move pretty quickly because we've got a lot to go through. The backdrop to all this is we're going to talk about the way us bankers work versus, frankly, the way the market works. How many of you shop on Amazon.com? Great. How many of you are prime buyers? One-click buyers? A couple of them? Yeah? Okay, good. You are? There you go. That's a $20 gift card to Starbucks now. Hold on to that because I'm going to ask for your help in a few minutes. Right? One-click buyer and Amazon. We're going to ask ourselves inside his credit union, does your member have the ability to go ahead and shop for insurance in the same kind of environment that you shop for other products when you go to Amazon? What does your website inside your credit union look like? I'm going to make a few apologies in advance because, as David Frankel knows, I'm get a little energized about this business, and I may say some things that are a little offensive to you and your industry, but just know that I'm a byproduct of it. And there's no silly questions. And as you all may have heard, it's celebrating our 5-year anniversary in our relationship and partnership with NAFCU. We're about to give away. One of you will walk out of here today with a free turnkey insurance agency. Typically, a client will pay between $150,000 and $400,000 to buy a turnkey insurance agency. One of you will walk out of here with one. And ignore the cameras. There's a few guys that are taking some clips, and as you're walking out, a few of them may ask you for some impromptu responses about what do you think about engaging, flirting with your member in a new way. A couple phrases I'm going to use again and again, and I just want to explain them to you quickly. How many is familiar with something called SEO? Search engine optimization, right? Yeah, that's where you try to figure out, can I get someone to find my website? And do I buy keywords with Google so when you type in white linen tablecloths, your company, if that's what they sell, it pops up on the top of the list, right? How many of you have members who have trouble finding your website? Anybody? Not really, right? Because what do you offer for free that they love right now? Online banking, right? That's exactly right. So they're coming in all the time. So you don't have a search engine optimization problem. You have something you're not familiar with yet called WSO, website optimization. Can you actually let your members do business on your website? Your websites today are brochureware. Your websites today are brochureware. Can you convert them into an e-commerce site? Can you flirt with your member once they come online to pay a bill to say, hey, don't just pay a bill here. Don't just think of my web portal as a brochure site. Don't just think of my website as an expense for the credit union. I'd like my web environment to make money, to provide services, engage your member. We're going to talk about CXM, customer or member engagement management. There's nobody in your credit union today that's worried about the experience your member is having on the web. It's not to say that your marketing director doesn't think about it from time to time, but not in the way the folks at Amazon think about what happens when you click in and you want to do some business on Amazon's site. We're going to talk a little bit about look to book. How many of you have ever shopped on Orbitz or Travelocity or Expedia, right, in those environments? Well, when those products first launched, everybody would go to those sites to look at the offers, but they wouldn't book. They'd go back and call American Airlines and say, all right, I'm going to buy business from. Well, what you're going to see is that some of your peer credit unions are not only offering products that can be shopped and compared and bought online, but also can get those purchases done so that money, income, can book to the credit union's income statement, not somebody else's. Now, and I'm sorry, your name? Keith. So you go to Amazon.com, when you type in from your home computer, what's the first thing that pops up on Amazon's screen? What's it say? Welcome, Keith. How many of you got a credit union when you go in to pay a bill online, it says, welcome, Keith? Not one of you. Imagine that. Imagine that, right? Keith, yours the well. Then I knew that. That's why that's why I picked you out. Talk about lucky, right? Yeah, imagine that. All right, here you are trying to engage, flirt, connect with your member online, your e-branch, and you can't even say, hey, welcome here. Amazon, you never met anybody from Amazon, right? Wouldn't know them if they ever said, hey, I want to take you out to dinner. But here you are, right? Welcome, Keith. So we're going to talk a little bit about this whole thing of what Amazon's doing is they're constantly checking to see what Keith is interested in. How often have you gone on Amazon's site after you bought something, and what does they say once you put something in the shopping cart? They give you a recommendation. Yeah, people that bought what you bought also looked at this kind of stuff, and you go, I love that. And if you're like me, you end up buying 3 things rather than 1 thing, right? Well, wouldn't you like to bring that same logic into your environment on your site? Because let me tell you something. Unlike Amazon, you don't have to do any work to create any love. You don't have to do any work to create any trust. Your members love you. They trust you. They'll do business with you. The problem is Keith and that credit union have not created an environment where you can say, welcome, Keith. Glad to have you here. And then the last thing, when you go out to the Amazon site, let's say we're shopping for a flat screen TV, and you do a little shopping comparison. You end up putting the Panasonic TV in the shopping cart. Next thing comes up, hey, guys that bought a flat screen TV, they bought a wall mount. Oh, yeah, I need one of those. You go, there's a bunch of manufacturers. You put that in your shopping cart. Then they say, hey, by the way, you need some of those cords. 3 different manufacturers, right? 3 different folks that you're buying product from. Who do you make your payment to? Amazon. And Amazon says, look, Keith, I'm going to take care of paying everybody, settling up. You just make a payment to me. If you, in fact, have some products for sale on your web portal, You send the member off on a link. They go to some third-party site. They pay that person. You're never to see them again. Why not offer a single checkout environment? I want you to read this. This is the CEO of Web Trends. They are one of the world's leading website optimization firms. These are the guys that are working with Amazon and Overstock and LL Bean, trying to help the executives in those firms to understand the problem you've got. And let me put it in a couple of simple words for you. Your marketing directors and your credit unions will never have the bandwidth or the capacity to convert your website into an e-commerce site. Now, it's not that I don't love them, and I know that there are some guys that are good clients of ours that have got marketing stewardship responsibility in their credit unions, but when you think about all the activity that's going on Amazon's site, it would be impossible for one person to wrap their mind around. Impossible. So I want you to discard your traditional notions of I got a webmaster, I got a marketing director. I want you to think about repositioning your website and its ability to engage with your member. Since they're visiting your website day in and day out, check balances, pay bill, move money, all for free. You were kind enough to give them the service for free. See if you can connect up with them. Now I'm going to take you through a quick journey of what websites look like today. The first one, anybody here from South Carolina Federal Credit Union? No, Sandeep. You're a troublemaker. So here we are. This is live. You can go check them out later on. Now, this is a traditional website. This is going to look just like all of yours. Personal banking, business banking, and a bunch of brochureware. Don't wait in line, sit at home, pretty picture of someone on a hardwood floor. But I can't find the products. Unlike at Amazon, boy, I can search them up quick. So let's look under personal banking, and you'll see that there's a link for insurance. All right, so let's make a click. I'm a digital shopper. I'm shopping on Amazon. I'm shopping on Overstock. And here I am on the insurance solutions page for South Carolina Federal. Wow, I got some auto discounts. Well, that's clever, and I'm online. I'm still clicking. I'm engaged. So let's click on the auto discounts link. So I click on the auto discount link, and they say, boy, there's a lot of phone numbers and ask questions. I just wanted to talk about auto insurance. All right, well, let's see. I got a free consultation. Let's click on that. There's something I can click on. And there's Rick Guntner, a senior agent. Call me today, and if not, scroll down a little bit, Matt. Just give me your email address. Tell me your problem, and I'll get back to you. Could you imagine Keith going on to Amazon's site, and it's saying, Ed's available on the phone, right? When he's available, call him. He'll answer the phone. If not, send him an email. Tell him what you're thinking about. Make matters even worse, let's go pick another product on their site. Let's go pick a dental insurance product, because now I'm still saying, well, this credit union of mine, I love them, I trust them. They have experts on these products. Let me go see if I can get some help and free consultation on dental. Oh my gosh, there's that one guy, Rick. He is one busy fellow, right? Gosh, he's doing auto insurance, now he's doing dental insurance. He's just a magician, right? And what do? You got to call Rick, you got to send him an email. Now let's go to do pet insurance, and you've all got some of these links, and I'll tell you, these really tick me off, and they ought to tick you off as well. Now we're looking at pet insurance. Click here to get it. That's pretty clean, pretty easy. Click here. Let's go get a quote. We're going to click, and you know what we're going to do? We're going to tell your member, hey, by the way, you're going to leave us now. Good luck with whoever you're going to see and wherever they take you. And by the way, I've got no liability for anything that may happen bad to you. Imagine if Amazon said, Keith, you're going to be looking to buy some flat screen TVs, but good luck with that because I can't be involved. Right? You guys call this a speed bump. I don't know what you call it. I call it a toxic waste notice site. It's like skull and crossbones. Good luck, buyer beware. It's insane. Now, to make matters worse, once you click, your member's gone. Your member's gone. And if you talk to the folks that sell these products, they would tell you that 3 out of 4 times people don't buy these products on their first visit. Where they've gone, they can't get back to your website. They can't get back. Imagine that if Amazon said, yeah, you want to look at Panasonic flat screen TVs, and by the way, you're gone to the Panasonic side. You can't get back to me, Keith. You're gone. Make matters worse, I'm half smart about this business. Look at where I am. I'm at petinsurance.com. So I get some pricing, I come back and I say a day, 2 later, I think I'm going to buy some of that stuff. You think I'm going to go start on your homepage and make 5 clicks to find my way back there? What am I going to type in on my search engine? Petinsurance.com. The crazy part about it is you end up with your business sourcing out leads for third-party partners, and frankly, you don't even get paid for them. The experience is dysfunctional. Another example of what's emerging as a generation, let's go to Bancorp South, Matt. I picked the bank just because I think it's fascinating. Big bank, and bankers think about banking, deposit gathering, loan making. This is a bank. 5 years ago, any one of you in this room would have bet me $1,000 if I said, you know what? Within 5 years, a bank is going to dedicate a third of their homepage real estate to insurance. You just said, you're out of your mind. Banks don't do insurance. They do deposit gathering and loan making. It's just we're live on their site. This is actually up and live. But the CEO of this bank realizes, you know what, 100%, every single customer of mine that comes in here to pay a bill online, they buy insurance from somebody every year. It's the only financial product. So I don't ever want my members' eyeballs to not remember that I've got insurance for sale. He's got a tab up at the top for insurance. He's got a banner ad. He's got a sliding ad that comes across. And look at down here. He's actually got a space that says, pop in a zip code, and I'll give you a free, no obligation auto insurance quote. Now, it's interesting. I was talking to a couple of CEO executives earlier in the day, and they were saying, well, you know, we've got a lot of guys that are fighting for some room on this real estate on our website. And I asked a simple question. Do any of their products allow you to make money with those products? Right, it's nice to say, well, we've got a deposit rate and a loan rate. The people coming to your website, they don't want to see brochureware. They don't want to see a celebration of what you got. They'd like to do business. They'd like you to flirt with them. They'd like to engage with you. And then we're going to take a look at what the website of tomorrow is. Let's go out to Insight Credit Union. These guys are down in Florida. Here's an interesting website. You can see that they've got some references to insurance. You can see the tab across the top. Occasionally they'll run a banner ad, but look at that thing called LifeLock over there in the left-hand corner. You've all got ID theft, or a lot of you do, or you know that your members would like it, but you say to yourself, you know what, if I put this up, I got to put an AD&D link up, and if I got an AD&D link, the pet insurance guy's going to want to link up. You think of your web portal as a static site, but imagine if when Keith visits, just like when he visits Amazon, the system said, I know Keith. He hasn't bought LifeLock yet. I wonder if he'd like some help with identity theft. So as we go through this presentation, we're going to come back to Insight, and we're going to guess that in the future, and we'll see it live today, this credit union, because we're live on their site, will actually have extended a new offer to us because they've noticed that we've already seen the ID theft offer. When's the last time your messaging, your offers, your products were communicating to your members lively? Think about how often you have the same visuals that the member sees day in and day out. You're not flirting with them. You're putting them to sleep. So what's Amazon do? To Keith's point, hey, Keith, welcome. How are you? They invite you to search. What would you like to learn about? What would you like to research? What are you curious about buying? How many of you got a search engine function on your web portal? None of you. All right, so your members got to navigate their way around. Think about today. No website in the world worth its salt doesn't include a search engine. We don't have it. And the crazy part about it is they remember, Keith, what you bought. And you know what? Guys that bought what you bought would also like to buy other things just like that, right? So what's happening in your world is your members are making a very steady and very predictable march to engaging with you digitally. You all know that. Whether you're an executive in the credit union, you're a member of the board, you know it, you're thinking about it, you're worrying about it. The problem is you've got to start making some steps forward yourself and respond to it. If you don't, your members are going to finally find somewhere else to do business. We're convinced of it. In the arena of web engagement, flirting with the consumer online, there's this notion of digital intelligence. Gee, did Keith come and visit my site today? I saw that someone did. Didn't know it was him, but I know someone came to visit my site today. This is where almost all of you are today. You're at a place in your web engagement with your members where if I asked the CEO, I said to Dwayne, how many unique visitors came to your website in the month? He may not have the answer off the top of his head, but I can tell you he'd be able to make a call, text a message, and he'd say back, 282,000, Jeff. So that's interesting. But did you do any business with them? Oh, gee, I don't know. In fact, my website's a brochure site. It's not an e-commerce site. I can't even tell. What happens is all of the other web distributors in the world are monetizing their engagement with these consumers. They're allowing their consumers to do business online. Now, for every one of those businesses that are trying to sell white linen tablecloths, and you type in a search engine with Google or Bing, and it just so happens that their tablecloth offer comes up on the first screen, do you think they got that screen positioning for free? What did they do? Right? You're exactly right. They paid for it. Think about you. Do you ever pay to have your members visit your web portal? Never. They come. Why? You offer a free service, online banking. More and more of them are using it, and more of them are visiting more often. ComScore says your average member is visiting your website 6.8 times a month for free. It just so happens, one of my board members, his cousin is the CEO of Overstock.com. When I tell him that you guys get tens of thousands of eyeballs visiting your website every week, yet you don't think to sell your members anything? His eyes literally hurt. They roll up in his head. Because he is spending millions every month with Google. Click key AdWords for every product that he's offering, only hoping that when someone does a search, they can come to the point of clicking on that business offering. So what you'll be thinking about is asking your leadership team, your board, as you go into strategic planning this fall, where are we in the cycle of using intelligence, engagement, and understanding of our members as they communicate with us online to actually help make money and provide a service and experience they're looking for. Another way to think about this is what we often refer to as the maturity curve. Right now, you're all at the operational reporting stage. Yep, we can tell you, Jeff, how many unique visitors we had. We can tell you how many total visitors we had. We can tell you the average amount of time they spent on the website, but none of that will translate into an economic outcome, right? As opposed to the guys at Amazon, they're asking Keith, they're not asking him, they're saying Keith stayed on the line. He was on our site for 5 minutes and 32 seconds. He visited 14 different products. He put 3 products in his shopping cart, and his checkout total was $142. And I see what he checked out the last 5 times at, and his average price for a shopping cart checkout is going up 10% every month, which means that we're catching him. We're flirting with him, and he's going, I love the fact that you're flirting with me, and I love the safety, the security, the comfort of doing business online. I'm going to come back and do not only more repeat business, but I'm going to do more business at the same time. That's the way you have to think about transitioning your web portal. Now, the key to all of this is I don't want you to go, boy, this is all great, Jeff, and it makes sense, but we can't do it. Yes, you can. Some of your peers are doing it today. You just saw the Bancorp South site. CEO says, frankly, all of you executives around the table, if your product can't be shopped, compared, and bought online, what do you want to do taking up some of my valuable web real estate? My members don't want to read brochureware. They'd like to do business like they do with every other e-commerce environment that they're in. Insight will show you in a little while how that works. So you heard several presentations over the last 2 days. This is all the same strategy, the same question that's begging you and your organization for a response. What is the consumer, what is your members' buying environment going to look like? In the past, it was simple. You put up a TV ad, you put up a radio ad, you get them to come in the store, they talk to a smiling teller, they take out a paper application, and they do their business. Today, completely the opposite, right? You have no idea what's going to get your member, what doorway they're going to enter in. They may call into your call center, they may walk into your branch, they may visit your website, they may be paying a bill, they may be applying for a loan online. You have got to be prepared to connect, to flirt, to engage with them. Now, you do a pretty good job of it in the branch, right? You've got bricks and mortar, you've got nice facilities, you've got attractive service-oriented employees, but more and more of your members are engaging with you more and more often digitally. And if you think about it, you've got to flirt with them. You've got to catch their attention. Right now, they're coming to your website, and they're visiting to do one thing, pay a bill online. Shame on us that we can't engage them, connect with them and say, hey, Keith, come on, let's do some business. In fact, one of the classic examples of what has been happening with flirting online that has caused significant measurable outcomes is this most recent presidential election, right? Barack Obama, regardless of your political inclinations, the guy did a brilliant job with his team. And this is the classic quote that came out of the entire campaign. You know what? Every time somebody visited our website, we knew it created an opportunity. Now at SRP, you guys get thousands of visitors every week coming to your website, but you don't yet see it as an opportunity for engagement. You don't see it as an opportunity to educate, communicate, and celebrate and deliver products and services that your member needs. And you all know, especially with these younger guys, that happens to be my son recently out of college, 2 more to go. Right? But as he's fond of saying, Dad, I've been in my credit union twice. Once to open up my account, once to pick up a check to pick up my car loan for my car. That's it. Never been back again. And frankly, if he never visits again, he'll tell you that would be one time too many. You have got, right? You have got to find a way to engage with him. And it's not necessarily just a function of age. The CEO of Bancorp South, Vice Chairman James Threadgill, we were out talking to a group of regional presidents a couple of months ago, and he talked to all the presidents that were there, and he said, you know what, last night, a 74-year-old man bought auto insurance online on our website. Never talked to an agent. So if you think that this is just a byproduct of you got to be young, baloney. How many of you have got grandchildren? Yeah? You ask any of them if you use Facebook? Do they use Facebook? Some of them, yeah, right? Yeah. And some of them, do you notice that maybe they're saying Facebook's for my grandmother? Did you get a little bit of that lately? Yeah, isn't that wild? Yeah. I asked my daughter, 17, you ever use Facebook anymore? Well, Dad, that's where you go. Right? It's not a function of one particular avenue or one particular approach. So what happens when you're online is, what does Keith want to do? He wants to shop, he wants to compare, and you'd like to buy. And you'd like to do that in a trusted environment. Now here's an example, one of our clients, Fairwinds, they said, we want to create pricing transparency for our members. What would they like to do? You've seen the ad with Flo, where Flo says, well, I can show you what Progressive would charge and what everybody else will charge. And you look at the TV ad and you go, isn't that kind of clever? But you call Progressive and they go, well, we don't really know what the other guys are charging. You got to check with them. We can give you an estimate. Why can't you create an environment on your web where you can say to the member, you know what? I've told the carriers they got 3 minutes. Tell us what your pricing is going to be and let it be compared this way. And you can't see at the back of the room. There's over a $500 difference with the quotes for the same member, same coverage from 5 different carriers. Why are the prices so different? Because frankly, at the moment, one of those carriers, 21st Century, wants to write that business more than the next person. It's the same reason why you quote a rate on an auto loan with one borrower and the guy across the street may have a 20 or 30 basis point increase in the rate. They just don't see the risk the same way you do. This is where you can provide extraordinary value and leverage your brand equity. They know you, you trust them, they trust you. If you said, gee, can you help me with my insurance needs online? Your member would go, finally, someone I trust that will provide complete pricing transparency. When you think about it in another context, how many of you are now doing online lending? Yeah, right? Yeah, got some loans going on. If you ever took out a loan in the last 5 years, you think about the information that you provided. Now, as a banker, when you're making a loan, who's an actual loan officer here? I got one? Okay, you make a loan officer. When you're underwriting repayment risk, what are you underwriting? 2 things, 2 C's, right? Character and collateral. Would you give that to her, right? You're looking at the collateral. That's a way of saying thank you for raising your hand. So, right, so you're saying, who's this character? Are they going to repay me back? And what's the car worth or the house worth if for some reason something happens, right? I can tell you that insurance companies, when they say, I want to figure out a price for the auto insurance for that car you're loaning against, they're underwriting claims risk. Is there any difference between claims risk and repayment risk? Absolutely none. In fact, what they do is they underwrite character and collateral. And if you asked any of the nation's leading insurance carriers today, what indicator, what do they look at that's more important than anything else in determining what to charge you for your insurance? Do you know what it is? What's that? Your credit score. Isn't that crazy? So here you are pre-screening these wonderful members. You've said, I'm inclined to give you a loan. The insurance carrier's jumping up and down going, I'd like to insure that person. If you'll give them a loan, I'm going to want to insure them at an attractive price. In fact, you've got the capacity, again, when you flirt with your member to say, how about if I just automatically deliver online loan approvals and I deliver online insurance quotes? All part of the seamless, integrated process. And the only reason these things are now happening is because you, as board members and executives in your credit unions, you're starting to demand them. You've got to go back for planning this fall and say, what are we doing? I don't want to talk about brochureware anymore in my web environment. I got that. It's wonderful. What I want to talk about is I want to talk about member engagement that actually produces a pretty predictable outcome. So you all know what you're doing today. And I'm going to get on a little bit of my horse for a minute because this really frosts me. All of you are delivering some kinds of products that are not deposit or loan products to your members. It may be an AD&D product. It may be an ID theft product. It could be a GAP product, a roadside assistance extended warranty product. And in every instance, the person that's either the distributor of that product or the maker of that product tells you how you will distribute their product. Imagine a guy making lawnmowers. I'm John Deere. And I see Home Depot, and I say, you know what, there's 3 million people every weekend going into Home Depot, and some of them are looking for lawnmowers. So I go into Home Depot because Home Depot owns the 3 million visitors every weekend, and I go, hey, I'm in the lawnmower selling business, but I'm going to tell you, Home Depot, how you're going to distribute my product. I'm going to be at the front of the store. I'm going to require a rack brochure. I'm going to need a teller action display. I'm going to have to email or I'm going to have to send a postcard to your members once a year for AD&D insurance. Can you imagine what Home Depot would tell those guys at John Deere? You got to be kidding me. Don't you know who's in charge? I think as a credit union movement, we have made a terrible mistake over the last 10 years. We have allowed these third-party folks to tell us how to engage with our members. It's just plain wrong. This is what you're doing today. You're doing what we call analog. Oh, well, that pet insurance thing, yeah, I got to get a link. Got to put it on my website. Oh, and you know what happens? They told me that the members got to go to their site to make the transaction. And the first thing their site's going to say is, what's your name? I know my member's name. They've been my member for 22 years. I really got to ask them, what's your name? And when they're done, they want to come back and check their balances. Oh, they can't. They've left the web portal. They got to come back in and log in again. Imagine someone having the audacity to say, you know how your relationship works with your member, but I'm going to tell you what the rules are. That's what you're doing today. Rack brochures, teller action displays, kiosk signage. Now, some of you, as you know, are now making this first step in your journey to an entirely digital environment. You're making it with a little bit of digital effort. And we just saw with South Carolina Federal what that gets you. Yeah, I got a link for this vendor over here, and it goes nowhere other than to an introduction to Rob or Stuart, whatever the guy's name, and you got to call him and put a little email message about what your problem is, and maybe tomorrow he'll get back to you. Or I can go to the pet insurance site, and oh gosh, by the way, I've got to leave the site. I've got to hit a speed bump. I've got to tell them what my first name is. What you're doing is you're generating sales for somebody else if you're doing anything. You're generating sales for somebody else, and you're letting third parties dictate the terms of distribution to your membership. It should be absolutely unacceptable in your mind. Now, I'm watching some CEOs, they're finally getting it, I guess is probably the right way to say it. They're finally saying to their third-party partners, hey, look it, no more. I'm going to tell you how this works. And if you can't do what I need, you know what? My guess is I'll be able to find somebody else that'll do it for me just the way I want. Now, I'll tell you, some of you guys, you've got partnerships on products, and it's about money. Right? Well, this guy's offering me another 20 basis points, or this guy's offering me a check for 10 grand up front. That's all nice. But I think you're selling your business and your membership terribly short when you don't start and end with, what will my member's experience be? Because if you build it in a way that your member wants to conduct and connect with you, they will come. They will shop. They will buy. And trust me, there's nobody, including me, that's got a better understanding of how you engage with your members than you do. You have to think as you begin flirting with your members, engaging in all this e-commerce, and say to yourself, what do my members want? I've got to listen to their voice. I've got to listen to my employees that engage with them every day, and then I've got to build out a solution that's going to work for them. Now, one of the things that happens is when Keith comes online with Amazon, you don't know it today, but what's happening is there are a series of personas or personality types that Amazon has already figured out fall into some pretty big buckets. Younger and female, older and male, retired male, married, single. And what they're doing is that's the toolkit that's available to you today to be able to say, I know Keith's here. Welcome, Keith. And frankly, if you're here to shop for an auto loan, I'm not going to show you links for home insurance, which is what happens today. I'm not going to show you products for CD rates. You don't come for CD rates. You go to Amazon and say, I'd like to buy a chainsaw. You're in the chainsaw buying business until you say, I'm done. I either don't buy one or I put it in my shopping cart. Now I want to go and shop for something else, right? This technology is not complex and it's not expensive. It's being used by web partners, distributors, these managers all across the world. The problem is you're not hiring these guys. You're hiring a local webmaster. And the local webmaster, because they're cheap and they're local, in almost every instance, they're making you very pretty brochureware. Very pretty brochureware. And because your marketing manager's going, oh God, I don't know e-commerce, no complaint against them, it's just they don't. They haven't worked in Amazon, they haven't worked at Overstock. They're like, what do I want? I want a pretty web portal. As a matter of fact, I'll tell you a story. Go to Insights page there, Matt. And this is a classic. And this didn't happen with Insight. This happened with another partner of ours. You won't believe it. We are, and I'll show you how this works in a minute, we are actually controlling this real estate on Insight's homepage. Can you imagine as a CEO, John, imagine as a CEO, Dawn, the CEO designate, right? Imagine me going to Dawn and saying, hey, by the way, I'm going to put some content up on your website. I'm going to control it. I'm going to change it up, and I'm not going to ask you prior permission. Dawn would go, oh, I don't think so. Right? I don't think so. Right? But some CEOs realize, you know what, Jeff? It would take me a month of meetings, and there'd never be any consensus on what ought to be up here to flirt with my member. I'm going to trust you enough to actually start engaging with my member. And that's what's happening right now. We are in control of that visual. We're live on their site. If you came in through another portal, another way, you may see another image. Why? Because we know that we're flirting with you. Now, one of the things, again, I'm not going to pick on John and Dawn, but let's say that at campus, They had a marketing director, and this is the way most of your marketing directors think. When we put that logo up, what do you think one of the first reactions of the marketing director would be? Doesn't match my brand. Thank you very, very much. Would you pass this over to her, Dwayne? Thank you so much. Doesn't match. And honest to God, we get it every time. Now, what the market, are you a marketing director? No, okay. But what happens is they say, you got to change the colors. Honest to God, you've got to change the colors. And you're sitting there going, okay. So LifeLock has spent $500 million so that when they flirt with somebody that's worried about identity theft, you go, I trust that logo. But somebody at the credit union goes, oh no, it's got to be in shades of blue. Honest to God, can't get anything other than purple and orange on our site. And you sit there and you go, you got to be kidding me. It'd be like Home Depot, right? Getting ready to sell lawnmowers for John Deere and saying, hey, look at that whole John Deere logo and brand, highly overrated. I want them to be in orange. It's nuts. It's nuts. But you go to your web portal because it's brochureware. If it's a brochure, it looks nice. It reads easy. It's easy on the eyes. Isn't that clever? But it will not sell anything. Why? Because you're not flirting with your member. You're not saying, hey, I got a little something sexy going on over here. Right? Look at this. We had a discussion with the marketing director in this case. Wasn't with this particular client. Was with another one that I won't mention. And I had to call up the CEO and say, hey, look, you're killing me here. And he understood it, and he says, I got it. Right? So we put up the logo. In the first 4 days, 6 LifeLock policies were sold. Nobody touched them. By the time I get off this discussion in this hour, 1 or 2 members will have bought that product. Nobody touched them, nobody racked brochures, no teller action displays, no coffee and donuts on the branches, no incentives, $2 to sell, all that nonsense. Your member doesn't want it. They came on to pay a bill and they said, hey, look, isn't that pretty clever? Let your brand represent the trusted advisor relationship you have, and let it celebrate the fact that your store is stocked with products from brands that these people will recognize and trust. That's the way you flirt with your member. Not by having everything worried about Insight's brand, but having you say, my shelf, I'm flirting with you and I'm delighted to be engaged. And what's happening behind the scenes, I won't spend a lot of time on it today, is something called multivariate and A/B testing. Every time Keith goes online with Amazon, anybody shop at Overstock? Yeah, great, John, yeah. Overstock, right? Fabulous company, great product. Every time you go on their site, you're going to see different images. And you know why? They're constantly testing images. You don't see it. They're a bunch of MIT guys. It's all mathematics. And when they see John's eyeballs click on something because of the color, the font, the size, the image, young woman, older man, right? 2 people, 1 person, young family. They go, wait a minute, that tells me. And all they keep doing is saying, I'm going to get smarter and smarter about spooling up the options that are most attractive to John. You don't have that capacity in your web portal at all because you don't think of your web portal as an e-commerce environment. You think of it as a brochure site, right? Okay, so sounds great. Everybody goes, boy, I ought to be doing some of this. Let's think about shopping. Let's think about what the shopping experience would be. Now, Dawn was kind enough to volunteer, right? Would you mind? Okay, come on up here with me. I'm going to have you sit right next to Matt. And while I'm chatting, Dawn is going to go shopping for some products. So pull up that chair. All right? Now, think about what you would like to have your member do as they came into your web environment. Imagine if they saw that link for LifeLock and they said, I'm on it. Keith goes, well, all right, I'm an Amazon guy. I'm an e-commerce guy. They click on that link and let's go shop for some LifeLock product. So Dawn's going to begin by saying, I'd like to do a little bit of work on this whole issue of identity theft. CU Community Insurance is ORNL, for those of you that don't know, about $1.5 billion shop down in Oak Ridge, Tennessee, one of our clients. And so we're out there on their site, and we're not actually going to make the purchase, but you'll see how it all works. And what does Keith want to do? He wants to do a little bit of reading, not too much, wants to look at the different, right? I want to compare, good, better, best. I got the silver plated, I got the gold plated, I got the platinum plated, they all got costs. And one of the things that drives me nuts about your websites is if you invite your member to do something online and they come in 3 days later or 10 minutes later, they want to look at something else, you start all over again by saying, what's your first name? What state do you live in? What's your zip code? You should never have a digital environment that doesn't permanently remember. So you'll notice Dawn is picking up a state. She's picking up a date of, oh my, you're very young, Dawn. That's, that's fabulous for you. Now, Keith is being a little persnickety. He's saying, hey, look, I got a monthly budget I got to live on. This product, frankly, I don't want to pay for it once a year. I can't afford the single-time payment. Keith wants to spread his payments out over the months, right? So look at, just like with Amazon, we're on O&L's site, and they're saying, you know what, Keith, you want good, better, or best? I don't know, Matt, what are we going to pick? We're going to pick a good product, and we're going to pay for it monthly. $23.40 a month. Phew, pretty easy so far. And look at what the web portal says. They've never gone anywhere else. They've never gone to any third-party site. It says, would you like to shop some more, or would you like to check out, right? We're all familiar with that. Well, let's say that Dawn now wants to do a little more shopping. So Dawn, let's continue shopping, and let's go look at Met's prepaid legal plan. We could pick global services, AD&D, hospital cash assistance, doesn't matter much. Here we're going to do a little bit more shopping again. In this particular case, oh, look, we've carried everything that Dawn's told us about herself so far. We've got some advice and some coverages, some research. Again, she wants to do a little bit of research because she's not particularly familiar with Met's prepaid legal product. She gets herself settled in and says, oh, look at this. I've got the option of picking a monthly or an annual payment because that's what I'd like to do. I can tell you that's what your member would like to do. In this case, let me pay for this one and done. I don't need this to hit my credit card every month. I can afford the $144. So we're going to put that in and look it's there in the basket on the right side, and it invites you again. Would you like to continue shopping, or would you like to check out? Dawn, would you like to continue shopping? Wouldn't you? Thank you, Dawn. Thank you. Now, Dawn says, let's go pick up an AD&D product, right? Think about what happens today. You have to wait for a once-a-year mailing. You got to get the vendor that's got the relationship with you, that takes you out to a ball game, buys you a hot dog, and he makes money because he's introduced you to the distributor, and that's the guy that sends out the postcard and answers the phone. And then, of course, you got to pay the carrier that's actually providing the life insurance. Everybody's in the middle of the exercise. But we're not going to have any of that anymore, right? Because Keith wants to buy a flat screen TV, and he doesn't want to deal with anybody other than Amazon. Your member wants to buy some AD&D insurance. They don't want to, frankly, deal with anybody other than you, period, the end. So now Dawn's going to go look at some benefits. It's got some information about the expenses and the coverages and how to file a claim, all that stuff. And after she gets done doing the research, she goes, okay, let's pick some family coverage. And now we've got an opportunity to put it in the shopping cart. So for the first time, now think about this, 3 different companies, LifeLock, Met, Chubb, they don't know from each other from Adam. They have no connection to each other. But just like Keith shopping for that flat screen TV, that wall mount, and those cables, same thing. I don't know those 3 companies. But Amazon says, you need this, Keith, to get your digital TV fired up. You need this to protect Dawn's family. So is it possible for us to actually buy all of this online without ever leaving the site, without ever waiting for a rack brochure? Let's continue shopping. Let's check out. I'm sorry. Thank you. So let's go see what's going to happen. Now what we're going to do is Matt's going to, with Dawn, he's actually going to set up an account. A couple of you are prime buyers with Amazon, right? You go in, yep, and I'm one of them. I'm a one-click. I'm here. I log in, I throw stuff in, and the next day it's sitting on my stool, right? Some of you may not be prime buyers, but they've got your payment information. So you go in, you log in, and they go, yeah, sure, you want to we're all set. You should be able to do that inside your web environment. You flirt with your member and say, hey, come on in. I got something you may be interested in. They're immediately going to say, that's fine. But don't tell me that I've got to call Gunther at extension 7290 tomorrow, or I got to send him an email that describes my need for home insurance. I'd like to do business now. And the way to be able to do that is to begin by opening up an account. Now you'll see that in Dawn's case, we're actually creating her email address, a login password, because once you open up an account and you buy products, what might you want to do a week from now, Keith? Buy something else, come back again, without starting with, my name is Keith, right? So we're going to set up this one-time account. So we're creating this account. Now while that's happening, Matt's going to be continuing. Are you going to get some beneficiaries, or are you just rolling up? Okay, now you can see that we've got some products. And of course, these products have dependents and beneficiaries. In the past, every product, well, I got to tell them who my wife is, who my children are, what their names are, their middle initials are. Matt's actually going to create some dependents, set them up. We're going to do it once and be done. And then he's going to select them and say, for the LifeLock product, I'm going to have my wife covered. For the AD&D product, I'm going to have my wife and a son covered. But while he's doing that administratively, let me ask you a question. On your website, who's a CEO in the room other than John? Anybody other CEO, C-suite guys? Okay, so if I asked you, your team's sitting around the table and you're talking about your web portal and you're saying, I'm looking to drive loan rates, I'm looking to drive deposit rates, I got business I want to do. And you tell them, what are we going to do on the web portal? And you told them, you guys, Keith's in charge of all the deposit gathering across your system. And you say, all right, Keith, where do you want to have your product positioned on the website? What do you think Keith's going to say? Front and center, page 1, home page. You bet. You bet. And you know why? Yep. And you know why that happens? Because none of you are in the e-commerce business. You're in the brochureware business. What you do is you find out that your member, in fact, whoops. Did I go forward a little bit too much? Yeah. Your member is in the business of saying, I just worry about clicks in. With Fairwinds, we actually asked ourselves, we asked the folks at Web Trends, would you mind telling me, would you mind explaining to me where my members' eyeballs linger the longest when they visit your website? And you know which page they spend the least amount of time on? Your home page. In fact, if you want to try to sell something on your home page, forget about it. Forget about it. Their eyeballs are all going to the upper right-hand corner, what they call the golden triangle, left-hand corner. Got to get my authenticate in, go to my online bill pay site. We took this crazy auto insurance, put in your zip code, get an auto insurance quote with Fairwinds. So, of course, the next question was, well, if we're only getting 100 quotes a week out of auto insurance with the zip code box, where else could we see the members' eyeballs linger longer? You know what they told us is that the logout page for online bill pay. How many people are arguing or lobbying for space on your online bill pay site? I'll tell you what it is. It's white space, right? But you know what's happening? Your members watching as the thing spools, and it all shuts down and says your bills are paid. And we think they're actually taking a second or two to go, okay, I got through that. We put that little zip code box up in that white space that nobody in the credit union wanted. We had a 10x increase from 100 to nearly 1,000 members every single week looking to get a test quote for auto insurance. Why? Because they realize that if you're going to flirt with your member, figure out when you've got a moment of their time to say, hey, come here, I've got something to tell you. And your traditional notions about how all that works, you can throw them out the window, because once you go from brochureware to e-commerce, you'll realize that, frankly, your member's engaging with you in a very elegant way that works for them. That's why having a marketing director or a little local website firm run all of this for you leaves phenomenal amounts of money on the table. So Matt's created a couple of dependents. We're going to continue. Yep, look, we've got John and Susie, and we've actually been able to include them as dependents or beneficiaries with any of the products that we selected. And now we're going to, with the security of needs of the ID theft product, they're going to require to put in a social security number. Matt's taking care of that. In the meantime, one of the things you'll be thinking about as you go through strategic planning, while he's doing that up on the screen, is that there's something called Content Management System, CMS. What Keith doesn't know is there are literally millions of images sitting on a computer at Amazon. And when they see Keith come in, they go, these are the images I'm going to show him. When they see John connect in, they go, these are the images I'm going to connect with John. That's why it's impossible for a marketing person to figure this out across their brain. It's all numbers, it's all data. There's very smart people, they're doing it for web portals across the world. You guys are just about 15 years behind the curve. And the crazy, painful part about it is that you get free visitors to your website every day. They're coming in bigger numbers, and they're coming more often. And unfortunately, in the past, you've had these third-party partners that have told you, I can't do that, or if you do that, you got to do it my way. You've got to start thinking, I can't do that anymore. I'm in charge of the member customer experience. Amazon would never let anybody tinker with their experience with Keith. Never, ever, ever. Now, as we go through this, we got beneficiaries lined up too, Matt. Another thing, not only when Keith, you come on to Amazon's site, we have 5 minutes? Just 10 minutes? Okay, thank you. Keith comes on to Amazon's site, and it says, welcome, Keith. When you get done making a purchase, what do? What do you get from them? You get an email, right? Thank you, right? So, hey, thanks for showing up. Not only did, that's right, that's confirmation. Now, most of you, as you saw, when your member comes onto your web portal, you don't even say, hi, Keith, right? Imagine, do any of you, when your member gets done using your website, say, hey, thanks for visiting. Good to see you again. Hope it was a good experience. Want to give me a little, anybody? Of course not. Think about it. It's crazy. Imagine someone walked into your branch and your teller didn't say, thank you for giving us a chance to serve you today. Yet here are your members in larger numbers with more business on their mind, with an elegant environment they trust, and you don't have the ability to say thanks for coming by. In fact, here's another example of a client of ours. It happens to be, they're saying thank you. You cannot shop inside their insurance agency without the agent saying, in the credit union's brand, with a personal note about, I know what you were shopping for. I know it's not easy. And you know what? I've even saved the information, so you want to come back in a few days. We don't have to start with, what's your first name? Right? It's all available today. If you embrace the idea that you have the capacity to think of your online portal as an e-branch. One of the executives of Security Services Credit Union refers to it as Branch 2020. What's this going to feel like for my member? It cannot be brochureware. It has to be a site that allows them to shop, compare, and buy. And most importantly, it has to be wonderfully creative in flirting with your member. They're busy. They got 1,000 things going on. You catch their attention. You're in wonderful, wonderful shape. You'll notice that Dawn's continuing to buy her products. Remember, with those beneficiary and dependent forms, you got to put the first dependent, the second dependent. One gets 51% of the benefit. The other gets, it's all being done online. Matt's got that all figured out. So now he's continuing and saying, you know what? I want to review my products just like Keith would do online. How about time to make a payment? Right? So it's still been under 5 minutes, and we're gonna do this once. We're gonna be done, just like with Keith and Amazon. Every time they come back to shop again, they say, yeah, I know who you are. I got your payment information. It's all secure, just like Amazon. Heck, it's secure because you're with me. Now, while Matt's creating this account for Dawn, over here, when people are buying auto insurance, as an example, right? Keith doesn't realize it, but when he's shopping at Amazon, as he searches, he tells Amazon what he's interested in, what kind of things he doesn't mind buying online, what kinds of products he doesn't mind being engaged with digitally. Some things he's going to go to the local store for. Other things, and it may be very different than me, we're going to have different buying needs and different buying experiences that we want to trigger. But one of the things I can tell you about Amazon is that Keith is increasingly comfortable with sharing what he likes, what's important to him, and most importantly, he wants to help them so that they can help him, right? I'm laughing about Amazon. Hey man, if I can help you to be a better partner with me, make it easier, more seamless, more automated, I'm all over it. You guys are great. Now imagine you're all out of cocktails tonight. You're on the cruise, and I'm walking around. I won't be there, although we're sponsoring it. Greg Hagan in the back of the room is going to walk around, and he's going to see you on that boat. He's going to say, hey, Ron, would you mind if you give me your business card and your phone number, and let me know when your auto insurance renews? Because I'm an auto insurance salesman, and I'd like to help you with your auto insurance when it comes up in October. What would you say? No way. Thank you very much for being so candid about it. That's exactly right. Think about it, right? We would thank you very much. We would think about auto insurance salesmen right down there with used car salesmen. No, and I'm in the business. But you know what? One of our partners, Fairwinds, said to their members, if you tell me when your auto insurance renews, I'll actually send you a little email. Remind you that you got a bill in the mail. Can you get some, would you like some help? We're saving ourselves some money with our members. And look at what happens. They click in. They find themselves getting free, no obligation insurance quotes. And for 11 months, when John doesn't need to talk about insurance, nobody's soliciting to him. When it comes time, now that he needs insurance, they're there to help. Matt, you've saved the buying transaction? Okay, so let's see what Dawn bought online. We're going to review the transaction. We're going to provide a digital signature. And if this works, John, if this works, if this works, Dawn will have bought some product. So she's made her purchase. She's confirmed that she's signing up and making her purchase in a way that allows her to say, I'm all done, and thank you for your order. Now, what happened? Your website went out and said to LifeLock, we just booked a policy for Dawn. We've just collected her premium. She chose to pay you monthly. We'll send you the money net due to you, but we took care of Dawn. And then we went right out to Chubb and said, hey, Dawn needed some AD&D insurance. We provided the coverage. We gave her an actual electronic copy of the coverage, a welcome letter. Matt, go out to the account page now. And we're all set. Oh, and by the way, you folks at Prepaid Legal, you don't realize it, but we just sold the policy to Dawn, and it's all done. It's all done. You're never going to meet my member because it's my member. It's like Home Depot saying to Lowe's, this is my customer. right? I'm not going to tell my customer, by the way, you can build the entire house except for the roof shingles, and you got to go across the street to Lowe's. You remember, every one of them buy insurance from somebody every year. You should be that. And look at, there's Dawn Harris. Oh, we moved you to Orlando, Florida, rather than Shreveport. And look at, there it is, all online. Do you have your smartphone with you? Is it over there, John? Yeah, because we can see what actually she got electronically. It's not. There we go. See if you got anything in your email shop. So the moral of the story today is that you are on the edge of embracing an entirely new generation of engagement with your members. For better or worse, your industry hasn't been very creative and very aggressive about pursuing these goals. Well, the reason we took you out online is we wanted to show you that we're running dual screens. I didn't want to show you a PowerPoint and say, oh, this is what goes on. I wanted to go out and do it. I wanted to show you that some of your peers, so when you go back into planning and they say, oh, I don't know about that, or the marketing director says, well, that's a little bit too much for me, we turn around and say, no, I know what's being done today. Insist on this new level of engagement. Insist that you communicate, educate, celebrate your offerings. Flirt with your member online. You will reap multiple valuations and benefits from them. So now we've got this final shopping environment. Everything's been done. Now just to click through this quickly because we got just 2 minutes to go. Dawn could come back in again. Did you get your email? And what did it say? There you go, right? Just like Keith at Amazon. No, gee, that's almost worth a little round of applause that worked. And the applause is for Dawn for being so kind. And you can see that now Dawn came in at a later date. She could change her payment method. She could change her dependents or beneficiaries, all on the fly. Never has to call your call center. Never has to ask in the branch, hey, by the way, who do I call to change the beneficiary for AD&D insurance? And the teller goes, what? Who, where? Has anybody got that form or know that 800 number? All of that's eliminated. Anyway, your member's voice ought to be the only voice you listen to. Stop listening to people that manufacture product that want access to your members, but under their rules. You tell these folks, I'll put your product in my store, but it's under my rules, because there's only one voice that I listen to. That's my member's voice. As a financial matter, there's a lot of folks that are in the middle of your distribution chains, and they're all putting money from your members' business in their pockets. That's not a good thing to do, right? Do you really need to pay somebody money to put a postcard in the mailbox for AD&D insurance once a year? Do you really need that to happen in this day and age? Seriously? Very disruptive, but bring that to financial planning, your strategic planning. Think about shopping carts and think about repeat visitors. Because one of the things that Amazon loves about Keith is that when he's got something to buy, he goes to Amazon. The beauty of it is that he had to have a dating relationship with Amazon. You don't have to build a dating relationship with your members. You can flirt today because they already know you, they trust you, and frankly, they're excited by the idea that you may be able to provide additional experiences for them. Think of your website as a permanent aisle in your stores. Think about an e-branch. Think about Branch 2020. It is a long journey. And I don't want any of you to think that I'm saying to go out there today and you'll have the transformation done tomorrow. It's not going to happen. But insist as you talk about the future of your credit union that you embrace the idea. Can we talk about the website as a revenue environment, not just an expense? Can we think about engaging the member, flirting with them, and getting some business in return? You'll do it incrementally. You saw a few examples of a few credit union CEOs that have put their fists down, frankly, and said, I'm tired. I will not look at my web portal as an expense item anymore. It's an e-commerce platform. It is my e-branch. And frankly, as I build my relationship with my members, they're telling me already as they vote with their fingers, they vote with their mouse, that this is increasingly the way they want to connect with us. So I can't thank you enough for your time and attention today. It's been very kind of you.